The sales evangelist steps into the ring with the sales whisperer. Let's get it on. Welcome to the Sales Podcast. I'm Wes Schaefer, the Sales Whisperer, your host. This is where ordinary entrepreneurs come for inspiration and education to do whatever it takes for as long as it takes until the job gets done. Look, when I made the leap from corporate America to running my own business, I had a wife, 5 kids, a mortgage, and they all wanted to eat and sleep in warm beds. I didn't have the luxury of hitting rock bottom while I found myself on my buddy's couch or in somebody's basement or going back home. Oh no. I had to put food on the table, a lot of food on the table, every single day, every week, every month. This is the no hype, cut to the chase material, ideas, and training I wish I had when I started down my entrepreneurial journey. This is one of the premier sales, marketing, and entrepreneurial programs available, and it's free. Make sure to stay up to date on everything I'm working on, along with additional content I don't have time to share on the podcast, by signing up for the Weekly Whisper at weeklywhisper.com. If you're curious about where to start when it comes to taking control of your sales and marketing is just selling in print, you can get my sales agenda to use in your everyday sales life at thesalesagenda.com. Finally, get the on-demand help you need to grow your sales at 30daysalesgrowth.com. Enter the promo code podcast to save a few bucks on your order. If you have any questions on ways I might be able to help you here with my team at The Sales Whisperer, feel free to email me, Wes at thesaleswhisperer.com. That is my actual email address, and I read everything that is not stupid, spammy, or ridiculous. Now on to the show. Donald Kelly, the sales evangelist. Can I get an amen for the sales podcast?
Amen.
West Palm Beach, Florida. That's almost as nice as Southern California, isn't it?
Don't lie to yourself, Wes. Don't lie to yourself.
Well, you do have less taxes, as we were talking about beforehand. But I don't sweat as much here. So, I mean, I got that going for me.
I tell you, but it helps. That humidity helps open up the pores. You know what I mean? That famous spa treatment.
Well, I grew up there in the South, so I know that's why I have good skin. That's why I still look 20, even though I'm 118 in parent years.
Explains a lot.
All right, man. So for those that don't know you, can you tell us in a minute or two or 17? I mean, if you get really boring, I got to cut it off, but I don't think you will. But a little about who you are, what you do, and we'll dive down the rabbit hole.
Let's do it. Donald Kelly, the sales evangelist, and I host a popular podcast called the Sales Evangelist Podcast. I interview top sales and marketing experts around the world who can bring insights, strategies to help young hustlers, people who are out there struggling in the world of sales, entrepreneurs, find a better way to sell. I love to evangelize effective selling. I'm also a professional software sales rep, and I also teach and coach individuals on sales, how to improve their hustle, mentor them, and also work with their sales team if necessary to help them become top performing sellers. I just love every aspect of sales, and I find that anyone can sell if they have the desire to. And my goal is to provide a way to help those individuals who have desire to improve their sales, just like my good man, Mr. West.
Very cool. So this software sales, are you still an employee, or is that on your own side, or what?
That is still an employee, and there's a transition process, and probably could talk about that off mic soon, but we're in transition mode with that, so that's great.
Cool. I mean, hey, I was in corporate America for a long time. I mean, with a big family, I didn't want to risk it. I wanted to make sure I had a good runway. I was on the right trajectory. And when you got the entrepreneurial bug, the corporate America feels like a prison.
Yeah.
But, it's a great stepping stone. And I think, people should appreciate what they've got while they've got it, right? And then just make the most of it. Hey, I got my start in corporate America, and I built that side hustle for a long time.
Yeah.
Before I went full time on my own.
And that's kind of like what happened with TSC. TSC started off more so, I'm sure you're familiar with our common denominator, Jared Easley.
Yeah.
Somehow. So everyone's connected with Jared. So Jared and I worked in the same company, and Jared was one of the project managers. I was on the sales side, and we were Starsky and Hutch. We tag team. He hit him high, hit him low. And we started talking about some startup ideas. And then eventually he was like, dude, you're passionate about sales. You need to talk about sales. You need to go preach about sales. And anyway, so long story short, he started out to encourage me to do TSC, Sales Evangelist. That's how it launched, more so as a hobby, excitement. And then people started saying, I'll pay you, teach me. And I was like, okay. And then it started to grow from there, and things started happening. And now it came to the point where my wife and I, we've been setting ourselves up for the past year and a half in different ways, as far as making sure, obviously with sales, you have decent commission. So we brought down significantly debt and live lean. And we're going into that we have an entrepreneurial bug, man. Cool. It's itchy.
Well, it's good. I mean, if you got a spouse that's supportive, people are like, what's your secret? I'm like, I'm married well. I have all those kids. Like, I got a good wife that's very patient.
It's so true, though, man. It's so true when you realize that it's not just one person. I mean, Sales Evangelist, that's both of us, and it affects both of our lives. So, and she's really committed to it, and she was more. Sometimes I feel like it's like she's a sales evangelist. I'm just there tagging along. So,
dude, my wife, I bring her to events as much as I can, and I don't have to sell at all.
I tell you,
it's amazing.
Don't give away my secret.
That's good stuff. So. So I like what you said a second ago. You kind of just gloss over it, but the fact, you're cutting expenses, you're living lean, you're living under your means, and that's been a common denominator really for everybody I've ever had on the show that made a successful leap onto their own. Cliff Ravenscraft was very open about that. He's working for his family's insurance business, and he hated it. And he and his wife, and they made a plan and got out of debt and were able to do his own thing. So, kudos to you for recognizing it and making it happen.
Yeah, we are fans of the Ramseys and Dave Ramsey and stuff like that, and just like basic principles coming from families where you like my dad, entrepreneur, and I kind of understood some of that stuff. And my parents, grew up. Let's just say we grew up lean. Yeah. And you learn, and how you can make you don't need to brag with your money. Right. Keep that money there, use that money wisely. Money is a great tool, but live within your means. Don't go cray and do all stupid stuff. So money is not important. One of my reps, our trainers, one point said money is important. It's right up there with oxygen or something like that. It was funny when he said it, but anyways, I ruined the joke, but you get the point.
So how can you be public with your site and your podcast and still have a job?
Well, you can be public with that by, one, the key part is making sure your company understands what you're doing. Okay. That's an important part for anyone.
So you have had a discussion with them about this?
And two, okay, you can do it if they're not too interested in that stuff. Right. And that's what happened with me the second one. They weren't too interested. They didn't really care. They didn't really, I take that back. They didn't understand the stuff that was going on in the podcasting world. They said, oh, you're just doing a hobby. You know what I mean? Right. And then obviously that hobby just kind of grew into something. I remember having an uncomfortable conversation once with one of the executives, and it was super funny. But the whole point of it, though, was that individual didn't really understand what podcasting was and so forth. And they just kind of wrote it off. It's just like, oh, you're doing that, so, in the backside. And if truth be told, that the podcast has definitely helped me to get myself out there in a better way. I've been able to get leads and so forth in a day job just because of the fact that people and affiliations that I built and relationships and the exposure that I brought. So, there's a couple ways you can do it. Some companies are okay. Some companies are oblivious. Right. And that's kind of where it falls in.
All right, so before we get into sales tips and whatnot,
let's do it.
I like the fact how you talked about people saw you were good at this and they're like, hey, can I pay you to coach me? So a lot of people have problems making that first dollar, right? Mm-hmm. And maybe you did. I don't know if you can kind of walk us through that, because they're like, I do that. You're like, oh crap, how much do I charge? How do I even collect money? He wants to pay with a credit card, honey. How do I collect a credit card? Right? Did you
all the
go
above?
Through that?
Yeah, dude, all the above, man. Because it started off as a passion again, Wes. It wasn't like, oh, let me go see if I can try to make some money. And that's where I think a lot of people come into a problem. they say, oh man, this online world or this, stuff out there, I can make some money off of these things. And I think first you have to lead with passion. And then obviously as you have your passion and desires, you see that, people will reward you for what you know. And I did that. And the first dollar came was, it was $300, man. And I was like, oh, sweet. Right. This guy I knew. And he was like, well, I'll take that back. Someone saw me speak at a Toastmasters event. Then he said, dude, you could speak, you can do you're effective at that. Would you be willing to help me in specifically with my customer service? I want to make sure that we create a customer service video. I want you to put something together on telling a story. How can we tell a story to help, with customer service, people who are, visiting my website and so forth? I'm like, okay, wrong guy. Not me, man. And then he replied, no, I know. I want you're a great storyteller. I want you to use that. And obviously that's an important aspect of sales. So anyways, he hired me to direct a 3-5 minute, whatever you call it, testimonial type thing for his company. And he was like, how much you charge? And I was like, $1,500. And then he was like, okay. And I was like, dang it. If I had said 5,000, he probably would have been like, yeah, go for it. So, it was kind of scary because you asked me about a software, asked me how much this is and how does that go forward. I can help you price that and all that jazz, make sure you're qualified, all that good stuff. But when it came to doing this, it was a whole different beast, man. I just really didn't know what to do. So anyways, that was my first one. The second one, a guy said he wanted to hire me as a coaching client, and that was $300. And then someone else said something else, and I referred them to this guy that just hired me, and he was my reference, and they started paying me like $150 an hour. And then my wife was like, yeah, you're playing with money. You need to get this stuff higher, and then from there we just started.
I will pay you $1.50 an hour for, I want 10,000 hours. Can I?
No. We change that, man. But it was definitely a learning experience. And from what I saw, and you probably see this too, because you spend some time with the online world and automating sales and stuff like that as well, is that I started creating like funnels, and that podcasting became an effective means for generating leads because people would listen to the show, reach out to me, or business owners reach out to me, and then we develop a relationship and then make sale. One of my easiest sales came from a guy who found me on he was over in Tokyo, found my podcast and listened to one episode, and he was convinced. And then he purchased one of my highest packages at the time. So it started going sparingly, just like a little by little. And then as things started chugging along, the first year, man, it was like a couple of those little deals, like the $300 here and little things here. But then it started chugging along, and then we started seeing a little bit more steady income, more of like year one, where we started to see a little bit more of that. Literally, it was almost like a little, not like a big hockey stick. It was more of like a broken hockey stick, just kind of So, and we still see steady rise. And then this summer, we're having like the most business that we've had. I'm having a speaking gig now, come from 3 speaking gigs that came, I think 4 actually, this summer. And just things start to come from just being active, being consistent. I mean, the whole credit card thing, I was like, how do we do this? I got with my mastermind, people said PayPal. Get PayPal set up and start taking credit card transactions there. So that's what I did. And we had the opportunity to be mentioned in an entrepreneurial, in a magazine. I found out that was happening. And I was like, man, when that first happened, I got to put up a paywall. And that's what I did with PayPal and went from there. So, you just start off, a lot of times necessity is the mother of all invention. And you just you get something going and you start working from that. And then you refine it as times go on. So that's what we did. And we grew, but it took time.
Oh man, I thought you were good, dude. I thought this was like one weekend. You just did. We gotta go. I gotta end this interview.
Dang it!
Man.
All right, man. Christina, you said we're not good.
Overnight success. Just give me your money. You're gonna have this by Sunday night. Get my pen and poke myself in the eye. So, all right, that is cool. So, would you recommend to others to get started with a podcast, or how quickly in their business? Let's say like two realms of people, maybe somebody brand new trying the side gig like you did. Should they start a podcast? And or let's say somebody's maybe a little more established, they have their own business, but maybe things have kind of flatlined. Should they do a podcast
Amen.
To help them?
I say both. You got to do the podcast. If you don't have an audience, if you don't have a business and you want to start something, again, mine started off as a hobby, and then I started growing an audience. You start getting loyal followers, people who just love you, and they start building a relationship with you. So now I have that community, and they started to grow the community as well. And then now I have a pool of people. If I have a product that I need to sell, they usually are the ones who are the first ones to purchase something because they have that. If I have my loyal following, I have an established business, I'm a lawn care company, it may be beneficial for me to do a podcast because I can use that means to generate more leads, to generate more people, or to bring more awareness to what I'm doing. And I've seen that to be very effective. One cool thing you can do with a podcast, especially if you have an established business, is to interview your prospects. And people don't realize that. If I'm a water treatment or a lawn care company, I might interview some of the, best companies around with the best designs and ask, get them on the show. And then little by little, I might say, what do you do? Well, I do lawn care, and funny you should ask, and blah, blah, blah. Here's my website, and check it out. But it's a tool to generate income, and it's a smart approach. When I was first starting a podcast, Jared encouraged me to do that. Make sure you get some entrepreneurs and people who would be potential customers, as well as those that benefit, stuff that who people have books or people who may benefit your audience. So it's a good little strategy. So I recommend it for both, man. I've seen effective on both sides.
So what's working now in sales? I was just actually I was on a radio show this morning, and the guy. It was funny how he said, "Hey, cold calling is dead. We're going to talk about that after the break." And I was like, "Cold calling ain't dead," And then. So as we got into it, he was talking about like pure old school, pick up the white pages and you're selling dish pans or encyclopedias, right? I'm like, okay, that's dead, but using LinkedIn or something in a B2B setting or try to find some common ground and reach out to somebody that doesn't know you, that's still alive. I think in B2B it'll always be alive. But what would you say? What's working in sales now? What's not working? Where should people be spending their time to grow their business today?
I think a great way to grow your business is really it's a couple things. One, strategic alliances. We always talk about that, but sometimes people say, I want to get referrals. You can ask a customer to get a referral from one customer, right? You're selling shoes, I'm selling shoelaces, and we both have the same customer. Instead of me going to my customer friend and say, hey, John, who else do you know that can benefit from this? And see, XYZ company. Get introduced to those partners, I would ask them, can you introduce me to your top 3 vendors? And that's one thing that I see to be effective, especially in the software world. I've seen that to help me to grow business pretty well. But the other thing that I would say is just like old school stuff. I was talking to this gentleman, and one of the things that we've seen throughout history is that history repeats itself or cycles. And you even mentioned this on your show recently about the fact that, sometimes people are, I'm going to butcher the way you say it. I'm just going to paraphrase what I got from it. But it's the idea that you still need to have that human interaction. You still need to have that relationship, even though I spend so much time on marketing online, but still yet that human interaction needs to be there. And I think that's an important element that's missed a lot. A lot of time, some of my counterparts, they spend, a lot of time might focus on, I'm going to send out this many LinkedIn, connections. But the problem is what happens when you get on the phone with that individual? How can you build a relationship that's going to be effective in the selling situation? So those are some of the things that I've applied and I've seen to be very effective. I utilize LinkedIn. There's a tool called Sales Prospector by SalesLoft. I love that because I can generate leads or ideal prospects. And then since it's so integrated with LinkedIn, I can get connected through my resources, through my friends, and build relationship with them. And they introduce me to people. And then I can use that relationship to leverage an opportunity for sales. So those are some of the things that I'm particularly seeing, that I'm using. The marriage between sales and marketing, if you're an entrepreneur, some people still have that distance in between there. But the Sales Lion, I'm not sure if you're familiar with him, Marcus Sheridan. Marcus, cool guy. But he's big on the idea of that marriage between sales and marketing. And I think that's an important element as we go further, being able to utilize your online means to be able to bring people towards your brick and mortar and to have meaningful relationships and conversations there. Is that too much?
Nope, that was good. So I'm trying to take some notes here. You said Sales Prospector by SalesLoft?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a cool tool.
And that's a LinkedIn tool?
It's a Google Chrome plugin. They also have an independent software, but I use it through Google Chrome. And literally, you just open up Google or if you go to any company like on LinkedIn, you can add it to your list, your sales prospector list,
Right.
or just open up the widget and just put IT directors, West Palm Beach, and then it will populate and go through Google as well as LinkedIn and generate that. And the interesting stuff, people put their phone numbers and all that stuff on LinkedIn already. So grab that information, put it in an Excel file, and you can see a CSV file and upload that to your CRM if possible, and use it for your marketing means or whatnot. So it's really, really neat, and use it for your cold calling efforts as well, or get introduction.
So you get the API for a CSV upload to your CRM used as an SaaS to get the VIPs and the CEOs. Is that right?
Let's break that down. Too many acronyms there. Essentially, you get a list.
Sad thing is, if you replay that was right.
That's exactly what I said.
Okay. Hey, let's go back to you mentioned like strategic alliances and referrals. I mean, it's such common sense, right? But people don't do it. Do people feel like they're infringing upon others, or like, oh, I don't want to interrupt? I mean, because it's so obvious, but how come people don't do that more?
I'll tell you what it is, Wes. I think a lot of times it's, one, I know what I'm doing already, and two, it was several things. It's laziness. It's too much work to go through that process. I'm just going to cold call and get by. I'm telling you stuff because this is what I did at one time in my sales career. And then three is the fact that they don't really know how to do it. And I'll explain that one. It sounds stupid, simple, but it's usually the stupid, simple things that people have the toughest time with. I have one of my listeners from day one. This guy's been listening to the show. We have conversation every once in a while. Kind of built my avatar around him. And one of the things that he mentioned was that he asked a question, and I was like, that's a simple question, but he was like, no one ever really went over that with me. Like, how to run a sales meeting. How do people tell you get hired, make a call, leave a voicemail, but how do you leave a voicemail? And it's the stupid things that people sometimes may think the boss or the managers think that people really know how to do, but they really don't know how to do it. So then they're like embarrassed to ask. I'm not going to ask that. How do I approach a vendor now? Or I've never asked that question, a referral for vendors before, so why should I don't know how to do that. I'm just going to ask them if they know anyone else. It's a cop-out. It's an easy way. Who else do you know that can be a benefit for this service, Wes? And then it's done. To really get an effective referral, stalk that person on LinkedIn and see who they know that may be in a familiar, territory, who they might know that you might get benefit from, and say, hey, John, I noticed that you know Lewis over at CFY company. I don't happen to suppose you'd be willing to give me an introduction, would you? After you build relationship and so forth. And more than likely, he'll say yes. But again, that's a one shot. I want to get one to many. So then I would ask him, John, you probably don't get this question to ask a lot, but I like to build partnerships. Who are your top 5 vendors that you work with? Just out of curiosity. X, Y, Z, Z, F, Y. Perfect. I actually had never heard about them before. Would you be willing to give me an introduction to your rep at that company? Because that rep needs the same thing I'm trying to get. They're trying to get to more customers like John. So, but again, people just don't know how to do it, or just take the cop-out, the lazy way, and go to cold calling alone, which I love cold calling, but there's more ways to be effective.
All right, we're going to come back to that. I love cold calling in just a second.
Yeah.
So remember that. Let me take a note. I'll forget.
Write it down. I'll write it down.
Cold calling lover. Question mark. Okay. So in a business setting, I could see people kind of warming up to that. Hey, who's your top vendor? But what about in like a realtor, an insurance agent, orthodontist, chiropractor? It's not really B2B. So it's more like, hey, who are your top 5 best friends that have a lot of money, crooked teeth, and a bad back, and are looking for a vacation home? So now it's more of a personal reference. So does it work as easily in that regard, or do you have to massage it a little bit?
I think it massages. I think you build that relationship with folks. I go to a chiropractor, and my wife and I have referred business to him. And the simplest thing that he does is just to keep in touch with us. He has a Facebook page, and he sends stuff out. And then when we are there, he asks us, we can approach us now because we've built this relationship. And he's like, you don't happen to know anybody else that may benefit from the services that we offer. You've been coming here for 6 months now, 3 months now. And like, yeah, actually, my wife referred a friend from work because she had, was having some back pains, and she was a business for him. We were referrals to him, by the way. So it was great because he has this way of just doing stuff like that. It's the building a relationship, fostering that, and then being willing to open your mouth. A lot of professionals, chiropractors or the lawyers or the accountants, my accountant, I mean, he's just like he went to Toastmasters and improve on himself. But, some people are just really quiet and just don't want to talk. They want to go count their beans or, crack their backs. But you got to understand, if no matter who you are, you're an entrepreneur, you're a business owner, you're selling. And it doesn't necessarily have to be out there on a soapbox selling, or pick up a phone, but you just have to be selling in the way that you offer your services. And this chiropractor does a great job with that. So that's what some of the things I would recommend to that. Just build a relationship with someone and ask. It's just like dating. You're not going to say, hey, let's go and get married on the first date. Well, it depends on who you are. If you're a TLC show or Bravo.
I'm kind of pretty. I'm pretty.
Or West, But generally, you foster a relationship, and then you ask, because of the fact that you've been rendering such great service and value to people, then why not go and ask them who else could benefit from that they might know? So in a B2C, that's some of the things that I've seen to be effective.
Yeah, I mean, people like to share. I mean, like we've got a chiropractor, and we knew of him for years, but we didn't think we needed him. And then my wife hurt her back doing CrossFit. And I was out of town. It was funny. I was at an Infusionsoft event, and it was a 3-day accelerator, and I was a coach for these 3 chiropractors that had a training academy. And I'm on the phone, talking to my wife, and they're driving her around to the ER. And I'm like, don't go to the ER. They can't help you. No. And I'm sitting with these chiropractors, and they're like, go to the chiropractor. And ever since then, and I go, she got over that. He treated her, and then we have gone, once a month for years now, 3-4 years. And he treats the whole kid. If you get a family plan, then, you pay for the parents, and then he treats all the kids at no charge as long as they come in with us, right? But, yeah, we can't help but talk about them. Actually, they're coming over tomorrow night for dinner.
There you go.
Just because. And see, he was accessible.
And I think that's the key there. You talked about that. The fact that he's coming over for dinner. How could other businesses build relationship like that? How could other professionals? I mean, some people don't like to hang out with the lawyer too much, but is there a way that you can build if you're an attorney, build a relationship like that with your clients, where you get to know them on a human level?
Yep.
So.
Yeah, and so everybody just needs to realize that. Whatever you do, even attorneys, hey, my good friend is an attorney, and I've used him before, and he's the godfather of our 6th child. I got to count. Yeah, the 6th one. So we like to pick on attorneys until you need one. Then you want to make sure you got the best.
Exactly. Got a cousin of mine.
All right, so cold calling lover. Mm-hmm. I don't hear that too much.
Hey, I think that's a good song. Cold calling lover segment.
Let me cue the Barry White. Hey, baby.
You like cold calling? Call me cold anytime.
So how is that? How is it that you're a cold calling lover, and how can our listeners become cold calling lovers?
Well, for those who don't know a lot about me, I'm a BYU graduate. So people might say, BYU, you must be Mormon. And I am. And one of the things for those who are familiar with Mormons or Latter-day Saints, you go door to door as a 19-year-old, 18-year-old, knock on doors for 2 years, and you can't get any colder than that. And you're talking to people about your beliefs. So, that I guess helped set the groundwork. I mean, in most a lot of these guys, they eventually do door-to-door security sales because you can't get any worse than that. It's like, nothing can faze me now. So I've been a base to that. I've been entrenched in that concept of not being afraid of talking to individuals or sharing an idea or thoughts or a way that can improve someone's life. So what I've done with that is taken that same mentality and apply it to sales. When I called for a customer, it's one of the things too, once you get out there on the door and you're practicing, or you get on a phone, I saw it as a lot of practice. I can practice some of the different things. What's the worst that's going to happen, Wes? I mean, they can't kill me. What's the worst that's going to happen if you pick up a phone call? So I started using that, and I use that time as practice to refine my process and refine different skills and to sharpen my sword. And every day I set aside a little bit of time. I mean, I'm not saying cold calling is the most effective things in the world. When you do cold calling right, it can be done very effectively. Again, if you prospect right, you get the right type of list, you get the right type of individuals, you build the relationships and you nurture, you can see an effective result with that. And I've seen that. So I'm not going to lie from it. I've closed business on cold calling, calling the right time of day, 5 o'clock. I was leaving the office, made a phone call, built a relationship with a guy. Next thing you know, closed a $30,000 deal. It happens, but it's effectively doing it effective. And that's one of the things that I've seen. So, and I utilize other means as far as referrals as well. And like I talked about, strategic alliances and so forth. But cold calling, I think everyone should do cold calling a little bit. Set aside a couple of days a week or a couple of hours a week and do some cold calling. The worst thing that can happen, you can refine your process. But most important thing is that you can do it right and you can find people who can benefit from what you have to offer. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah. So are you calling to make a sale, or are you calling to make an appointment? I mean, what's happened on that call?
For me, especially the software that I sell, it's calling to make an appointment. I have not closed one of them in one call. It's to get an appointment, and usually when I get the appointment, you see that they have that pain, obviously, that I brought up in the initial conversation, and then we go deeper through our questioning and through our analysis and chatting and so forth, and realize, they want just like yesterday. I don't believe in convincing people. I ask appropriate questions and help people convince themselves, and that's the effective way that I learned to sell. And when you do that, they tell themselves they want to get it, and they figure out a way to get money for it, even if they say they don't have money for it, which is usually a cop-out. So,
usually a cop-out. When somebody says, I don't have money, I say, that's exactly why I'm calling you. And you just hear them go silence. Like you can smell the smoke over the phone of their brain starting to melt. It's like, this is a salesman, and I said I don't have money, and that's why he's calling. I'm so confused, And then you can get into the dialogue.
I sell for the Federal Reserve, and we have cash that we're printing.
Yeah, it's like, if you had my services, you'd have freed up more time and money. So it's time we talk. But anyway. I digress. So you mentioned, so you made that call, and you're not making a $30,000 sale, but you made the call right at the very end of the day. So is there a better or worse time to make calls, or by country, or by part of the country, or by industry maybe?
Oh yeah, it's definitely. I think the more so depends on may depend on your industry for what you can do. For me, it's calling to executives or to the managers or to a lot of times the IT directors. I mean, what's the worst time to call an IT director? It's in the middle of the day because everything is going wrong. They don't want to chat with you. But I've seen that it was, for this guy, was towards the end of the day. Between 4 and 5 is what a lot of studies says some of the effective time to call, or in the mornings between 7 to like 8, 9, you get a hold of those executives because they have less, they don't have people in the office. I interviewed an executive, and I asked her some of these questions that salespeople typically have, and she said, if someone calls my office at 7 o'clock or 7:30 in the morning, the secretary is not answering the phone. I'm answering the phone, so they can get a hold of me. Yep. And she said, I pick up my phone. I do, but people don't call. So, there's different things like that. But people say, I want to go to Starbucks for an hour and chat about whose line is it anyways, or the Kardashians. And then I'll go to work and start calling at 9:30 or 10. And it's like, okay, you call at 9:30 or 10. Who are you going to get a hold of? You're going to get a hold of Mary Jane, the secretary, who's going to be a bulldog. So, figure out effective ways of doing it and do it at the right times, man.
So how do you befriend a bulldog?
With steak.
Right.
Good steak. No, I'll tell you something that I did, and you can't make fun of me for it. I believe in order to be successful, do the opposite of what everyone else is doing. And some things that I usually do every once in a while, it depends on the customer and how long I've been trying to get into this account. But Jared Easley has this philosophy, this thing that he does with when he started how he got Seth Godin on his show. He sent a big ball in the mail, like the big bouncy ball. 1 second, let me get one. All right. Oh, crap. I'm about to fall. So you get a ball like this, right? And you get a Sharpie like this. And you literally write on the ball. This is like, if you can see it properly, This is something you buy at Walmart for I think it was $3 or $2.99. You write on that ball literally like your name, the name of the company you're sending it to and the individual, and you send the ball in the mail. What happens now in 2 days when you call back to get that, you're like,
so you put a stamp on that ball.
Stamp on the ball. I have a couple stamps right here. I can't find them, but I have stamps. Or I go to the post office, and during the lunch break, and I just send these balls out. And funny thing happened is that when you do that, they get to the office, and then people are bouncing a ball around, and then you call in, hey, this is Donald. Donald, I'm the guy who sent the ball. I knew your name sound familiar. I was like, yeah, how you doing? That gatekeeper would come like a little dog. I gave her a steak, and she's in my palm of my hand. Yeah, I was trying to get a hold of John to talk to him about that. He doesn't happen to be in by chance, does he? Oh, yes, he is. Let me send him to you. We wanted to talk about that. We're bouncing the ball around today. Blah, blah, blah. I did that with a college. And then the lady was like, she was like, I know who you are. Before I finished my name, she was like, I know who you are. Let me put you through. And this was to the president of the university. So, you try different things. But again, it wasn't just like, I don't do that to everyone. That's a lot of expensive balls there. But it's the fact that those people who have research and companies I thought would be effective for me to get a hold of and get into. And so you try different things like that, or you just don't, be respectful to the gatekeeper, but you don't have to give everything away. You just pretend like you're a criminal, and they're trying to ask questions. If you're trying to get in there, just give them what they want to know. I learned this through some of my early Sandler training. So,
yep.
Anyways, so those are some things that I've seen and how I've helped to build a relationship with my gatekeeper. Bring some steak.
So what do you do if you get voicemail?
Depends. Sometimes if you don't want to leave a voicemail, but sometimes I'll leave a voicemail and I keep my voicemail simple. I keep it short, sweet, and usually elicits some kind of curiosity. I might say, hey, Wes, it's Donald. I'm told to make sure to give you a call. Can you reach me back at a certain number? And funny, I was scared to do stuff like that, leave stupid, simple voicemails. And the funny thing was I get more response from my stupid, simple voicemails than I do from the complex, this is David or with John Smith's company, and we do blah, 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 and we help blah, blah, blah. Would you want to be of service? Those right. Voicemails, I don't see those be working. So I keep my voicemail simple and short, and they usually call back, want to learn more, and have conversations and develop opportunities and set appointments and so forth.
Where are you seeing social media in helping sales in a B2B environment?
Twitter, I think, could be very, very effective in building a relationship with people offline. Well, I guess you're online, as opposed to on the phone. And LinkedIn also is a very, very effective part. I'm not cracked a lot of code with Facebook for B2B in a sense of really connecting. I mean, you can go on, you can find information and try to get and connect, see these people on a personal level. But Twitter is an effective way I've seen to, one, follow companies, two, to be able to connect with individuals. I've connected with so many individuals that I would not have gotten easy access to because of the bulldogs. Right. But, LinkedIn or Twitter just provide an easy way to maybe following someone, or, I see that they like, I don't know, the heat as well. And, right. You can connect from there. And there's different tools like that. But in LinkedIn is being able to, get introductions properly. It's that big adult connector for the B2B world. And it's one of the best tools out there for social media, B2B, and being a part of the groups. I mean, it'd be amazing what strategies you can build from being a part of certain groups online. I'll give you an example. One of my colleagues, he jumped onto a HR group, and his business industry that he was selling to was the HR industry, and he was able to line several key appointments to these individuals because when new people came into the group, they popped up and they did an introduction, and he would introduce himself to them and say, hey, I'm new to the group as well. I'd love to connect with you. I'm down here in South Florida. I deal with X type industry. And he got a lot of good relationships from that because the common factor was they're both a part of the same group community online. Right. So, anyways.
Well, and I love what you're talking about there because I asked this earlier. I had another interview this morning, and you're talking about he gave an example of mailing this big 3-foot door for these like security doors and things. It was crazy, but it got through, right? And what you're talking about here, and he mentioned as well, kind of a common theme for today is, I'm not hearing you say, get this $300 a month premium plan, super secret software, and spy on everybody and scrape websites and spam the crap out of them. It's just get there, be present, be a human, get to know them, something unique about them, and connect.
Yeah. Cool. Daniel Pink, Still is Human, and I have another book over here somewhere. I can't find it. we moved recently, so it's probably in the other room. But it's Jeb Blunt has a book as well about selling humans.
People buy you.
Yeah, you got to be able to sell on that human level, and it makes a big difference. Can't forget that, man. You can't forget that. You're looking for it too, huh?
Books. Where's my Jeb books?
First one to find it wins.
I got Daniel Pink. Well, bam.
Dang. All right, forget
All right.
you.
Jeb books. Oh, Jeb's gonna be mad at me.
Good old Jeb.
Oh man. All right, I'll have to find him.
I love
I
Jeb.
had him on the podcast a while back. Good dude. All right. I had another question for you. Now you made me go on this wild goose chase. I mean, I only have 2 books in my house, and this is the only one that's not colored in. Those are all rentals. That's all CGI. Don't ignore those books back there.
Don't tell anybody about that.
I just put it there, for fun. So cool. So what's next for you? When are you making the big leap? Do you have a date?
When is
time
this
frame?
episode going live?
What's that?
When is this episode going live?
Oh man, we're recording June 15th. It will go live, I'm not sure, in June. I've got a new guy helping me. I'm rearranging this whole format. Guy's helping me produce it professionally. But it should go live within 2 weeks.
Okay. This plan for us is summertime 2015. So whenever someone's listening to this, it's summertime 2015.
Nice.
So we have some things in place and working on a couple sales evangelist deals outside of it, which would definitely, add to what we have already planned. So it'll be very, very effective. So we're excited for that. This will be a busy summer.
Very nice. And what are you doing on your site for lead gen? I noticed you've got couple of lead magnets, and can you kind of walk us through the funnel, like how you what you've learned and what you've learned that works in today's world? I mean, is it the traditional, give them something free, kind of wet their whistle, low dollar, higher dollar, and move them on down?
Yeah, traditionally. And to be honest, I'm being transparent. Mine isn't I don't have like a full system set up for my online methods, the methods to the madness. Obviously, with like the full-time day job and hustling, right. And this was a side gig that started developing. I started recognizing, and from very get-go, you got to get some kind of online presence. The podcast became a way for people to start reaching out to me, but right. Then I wanted to capture that information, so I created a way to send out little tips and tricks and strategies. So I send stuff out to folks, via my email services, get them something there, and then you grow from there. But as far as the different products and the different stages and the different levels and this time, being transparent, it's not exactly up front there. I took a course and I have a system whiteboarded. If you can look over there, can't really see my whiteboards.
Bam.
I'm whiteboarding the process, and it's just getting to the point where we implement right. that process, and working with the virtual assistants now. So hopefully right. We can get those set up in place. But cool. The point would be to get a low end and give some free stuff, get some low end entry level purchase. I want to encourage people to make purchases, get them into habit, but not to give them crap, but give them stuff right. That's going to be maybe a guide or something to that nature, and then go from there, and then towards the coaching products and so forth.
Hey, but if the coaching is working, I'm actually bringing back more one-on-one coaching.
I love it, man.
Yeah, I do like it. I'd gotten away from it. This whole scaling model, right? One to many, yada, yada, and that's important. But I do like coaching. There is good money in it, so, listen to your little voice, right? I mean, do what you like, do what makes money, do what adds value, and don't be afraid to do what you like.
Yeah.
Right?
I like that.
I mean, heck, if it's working, and that side hustle can be full time, just doing one-on-one coaching, and then that'll give you the time and the money to build out that funnel in more detail. Then you hit the big time.
Big boy like you.
Woo,
big times.
All right, man.
And look at those guns, man. Man, I need to go to the
I got to work out. I'm carrying 7 kids around. Groceries. Good. I mean, it's nonstop. I don't need to join the gym. I carry kids upstairs to bed, right? And I'll sleep on the couch. I'm like, get up. I'm too old to carry all of you up the stairs. So where can people find you, man? Where do we send them?
Best way to do is go home to the salesevangelist.com. You can connect with us via socially there, as well as you can connect with our podcast and different little means that we have on the website. So the salesevangelist.com.
Very nice. Donald,
all right, man.
Donald C. Kelly, all the way from Southern Florida.
A to the man. The second best place compared to California besides the tax rate.
True that, man. Okay, man. Well, thanks for coming on the show.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
All right, man. Have a great night.
You too.
Well, the sales evangelist lived up to his name. There's some great advice in there about when to make the call, how to handle voicemail, how to elicit curiosity, how to make yourself known and stand out through the old reliable direct mail, right? Interesting how some things never change. Direct mail, physical items, tangible, still work. The phone still works, okay? You need to not be afraid of it. And people that are selling you things, programs like cold calling is dead, are, for the most part, selling you what you want to hear, okay? Now, I've said over and over again, I don't have to make cold calls anymore. Donald says he likes it. He's a little bit crazy, okay, but he's younger than me, so hey, I was crazy too. I don't know that I ever really feared it. You know, in the beginning, it was terrible when I was first learning it. But that was more of a business to consumer sale when I was doing stocks and bonds. But in corporate America, I never feared picking up the phone. I did look at it as a challenge. But I never called truly 100% cold. I think that's kind of gone. I think that applies to, you know, the really old days of picking up the phone, picking up the white pages and calling homes, trying to sell carpet cleaning services or, you know, vacuum cleaners, stuff like that. When you're calling a business, and I don't care what it is, accounting services, insurance, whatever, it's really not truly cold because you know they need what it is you're selling. Now, it would be great if you sold to a competitor of theirs or a neighbor of theirs, so you can reference that. But when you can do that, again, it's not a 100% cold call. So you really need to look at what's being said out there, what myths are being propagated, why they are being propagated, and for the most part, it's to make a sale. But yes, if you can build a system and a platform and incorporate automation, so you don't have to do that, you get all inbound calls, you sell 100% online while you're sitting around in your pajamas, yeah, that's fantastic. But that's a lot of work, and it doesn't apply to a lot of businesses. Okay, so go back and listen, especially if you're still B2B. If you need to ratchet up your sales quickly, look at your existing database. Use whatever marketing you do have in place to generate more leads with the sole purpose of getting the phone number or at least getting a contact name, a full name, and an email address. You can look them up and give them a call. With the right script, you can connect with these people, disqualify them, okay, because you don't want to go see everybody that can fog a mirror. Disqualify them. Once you have a live one, set a firm appointment. You're not making the sale over the phone. You're selling the appointment. Then go out there and wow them, okay? And if you need help with that, go check out thesalesagenda.com for a free little tool to help you do this mo better. Show feedback and guest suggestions are always welcome. Let me know what topics you'd like me to cover and any cool guys or gals you'd like me to interview. You can hit me up at wes@thesaleswhisperer.com. And if you want some affordable, live, interactive help from me and my team twice a month, check out marketingautomationnetwork.com. Even if you don't have an email or a CRM tool running yet, there's no other place on earth where you can get direct access to my team and me to answer your questions and record the answers and give you access to those sessions. You'll get access to the entire archive of sessions going back several years. So head on over to marketingautomationnetwork.com and sign up now. Remember to subscribe to the show, write me a review in iTunes, and I will love you long time. And please tell your friends, all right? The best compliment you can give is to share your feedback with a review and telling your friends about the show. And as always, remember to sell different.